Hello, folks. Hello, and welcome to a brand new podcast. Obviously, we did a little teaser episode a week or so ago, like a half-length episode for me to say hello to you guys and for me to let you know how you get in touch with me and ask me all these questions, whether it be wrestling related or not. But this is our first proper episode and the series just started now, so I suppose I better act like a proper host and welcome you. Welcome to Reversing the Hold with me, Matt Powell, aka Mad Dog Maxx. Now I can't do that voice, but yeah, welcome to the first episode. I've got to be honest with you, this is the second take. I've just recorded 5 minutes, just a little welcome, me saying hello and getting my plugs in, and I accidentally pressed a button on the recording phone and it stopped recording and deleted it. So this is my second take. I've said all this once before. I've only done 5 minutes, but I'm going to be really bored for the next 4 minutes because I'm just going to repeat myself. Right, before we start the podcast properly, I'd better get in all the plugs and all the business end of it so I can just get that out of the way and then just talk to you guys and blabber on. Because I guess that's what you're here for. This coming Saturday, myself and a bunch of the PWL wrestlers, we hit the road. We're wrestling on a prize show in Evesham. To get the proper details for that, tickets, venues, times and all of that, I'll only get it wrong for you anyway. Just go onto Facebook or Twitter and find Chris Royals and follow his social media, or go onto Facebook and put Prize or Prize Wrestling, Prize, Price, and you'll find all the details. Evesham's not that far from our neck of the woods. It's well worth the little journey. Jump in the car, or even better, get somebody else to drive so you can have a drink, and come and see us Saturday. It's not as long as you were thinking. It's well worth it. They're quality shows from the PWL spectrum of things. Obviously, Chris Royals, he's our British champion. He'll be there this Saturday. I'll be there. Danny Gold, Leon Jackson, Elise, Haya and Neil O'Reilly, and maybe even one or two others. You never know who's going to show up, really. You never know. Last minute, this happens, that happens, you don't know. But there'll be a strong PWR presence as well as a really good prize presence, and I do recommend you all come down and have a look. The week after that, we're a little bit closer to home. As you know, I've spoke to you about it on the preview podcast. And if you come to the shows, you'll be very aware of it. We've got the show at Walsall. We're at the Chuckery Club. PWR Wrestling's at the Chuckery Club in Walsall. Walsall's the first ever town I promoted a show. It wasn't a PWL show. It was before that, but it was the first ever town I've run. It's a town I grew up in, so I've got a few heartstrings for the town, and I think it's going to be a really good show. We've had a lot of interest. But if you haven't booked your tickets, why haven't you got in touch with me? Let me know and I'll save your tickets for you. Don't forget, main event, top of the bill, is me, Danny Gold, Leon Jackson and Tiger Singh against Dangerous Dave, James Venom, Neil O'Reilly and Chris Royals in a Survivor Series match. Proper traditional Survivor Series. We're doing 4-on-4 because of a bit of space, but it'd be elimination, last man standing wins basically. You've also got a co-main event on the show. You've got Elise and her new trainee Casey against Haya and Jade Knight, so a woman's tag as the co-main event. And the other matches are going to be announced Monday or Tuesday, but you're going to get your likes of new PWL characters like the Preacher. Wait to see the Preacher. He made his debut last month in Solihull. He's a big heavyweight, tattoos, mean look. I hope I don't wrestle him anytime soon. I need to study him. He's a bit too big for me at the moment. I'll study him and find the weaknesses out first. But yeah, and you'll have all the your normal wrestlers as well. You'll have, as I said, all the people I've mentioned. The Preacher that you'll get in the Black Country you first look at. You'll have Bradley Ray and a few of the others, Scrubber Daly and a few of the. It'll all be announced Monday or Tuesday. It's going to be a really big show. So what you waiting for? Come and book your tickets. I've probably only got about 15 left. Before I get stuck into the questions, I'm going to have my drink. Let you into a little secret. Because of me take two, which I don't do. I don't do take two normally, but like I say, I pressed the button and stopped it recording. I've already opened this. I put the lid on, but I can't lie to you. Look, it'll just pop off. Oh no, it's a bit harder than it looks. It'll just pop off. But last time I had a cocktail as my drink of the podcast. I think it was Dark Storm or something like that, weren't it? The rum and ginger ale. I've just gone simple today. Just for me Newcastle Brown Ale. Easy drink, session drink. I can drink 6 or 7 of these and not be too puddled and still talk to you and make sense. So that's that really. And if you're watching, Bob, Barrett and my dad, it's your fault to drink this. So if I do get too drunk, it's your fault, not mine. All right. And that's my first taste of the same drink. It don't matter. Right, questions. Let's get on to these questions then. I'll be honest, a lot of these questions have come today because I put something up and I just had a barrage of really, really cool questions. So I have written all your original questions down and all the questions you've emailed me in from the preview podcast. I have written them down and I promise I'm going to work through them. But about 5 of these questions came through today and they were so good I couldn't resist it. And I know being the first proper podcast, I might be a bit nervous, and some of these questions, they're subjects that I really either know about or I'm interested in, so I thought at least it'd give me an easy day, you know. Just put me in easy, so I ain't stuttering and stammering all over the place for you. Right, first question. Darren Summers has sent me 2 questions in, and we'll do them both. Sorry, it don't matter. First question is a bit of a fun one. And off the topic of wrestling, which obviously I've said, you can ask me anything, I'll talk about it. You might not want to hear the answer, you might get bored, but I'll still answer it. His first question's, who would you cast as the Wolverine? So obviously he's on about the Marvel films. And obviously he knows, obviously he knows that I like my comics because I talk about it a lot online. And if you pay attention, you'll see that I've got the X-Men X badge symbol tattooed on me over that side or that side. I can't remember which now. I think it's that one. So as Darren will know, because I think I would have already told him, and as some of you know, grew up loving comic books and comic book culture and sci-fi as well. I like my sci-fi films and all of that. But X-Men was always my favourite. Is my favourite franchise when it comes to just comics. At Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Avengers. Yeah, I read them and they were okay, but I could take them or leave them. If I accidentally missed an issue, if I missed a month, it weren't the end of the world to me. But X-Men, for whatever reason, which I could probably do a whole hour on itself. I could tell you why I'm attached to the X-Men so much, really, but it's not part of the question, so I'll gloss over it dead quick. But for any reason, whatever reason, I became very attached to the X-Men franchise. So I'm very passionate about it, and I'll let you into a secret, Darren. When they initially cast Hugh Jackman, I was dead against it. I'm very much a purist. I don't like, if an artist or a writer, or I suppose both, they've written or designed that character, and they want it to be a certain way. Don't mess with it. You wouldn't rewrite Romeo and Juliet and make it so that they don't get together and they're just best friends and they go on a trip on a canal barge, would you? It's a love story. It's forbidden love and all of that, Romeo and Juliet. And I know I'm using extreme high-end literature as an example, but you get my point. Now, in the comics growing up, they used to do little biographicals of all the different heroes and all that. And Wolverine was always listed like 5'1", 5'2". I think every now and again he was listed at 5'4". He was always a very, very short in statured character. And if you think about it, if you look at it properly, he's hundreds of years old. He was born hundreds of years ago, and people were shorter back then. They were 5'1", 5'2", so it makes sense from that point of view. And him being short and aggressive and a certain look and having certain qualities to him. For me, Hugh Jackman was this 6'4", tall, skinny chap, and I couldn't get my head around the casting. He's a funny one. And this isn't my answer, Darren. This is just something that was in the comics I used to read. I'll have to get it out and show you. I've got, thousands of comics over here in my man cave. I got one in, I think it was about 1996 is the date on the front of the comic. And it was when the X-Men film was first gaining traction and everyone was excited about it. Marvel had announced they were going to make the film, but there were a number of years off releasing it. I think it ended up getting released in 99, 2000, something like that in the end. And obviously, making these movies, they change a lot. And what they did, they had names that had been interviewed to play the characters or ones that were suggested. I think some of them had even been confirmed. Some of them were, they've signed on for the film. And the funny thing is, the only person that was in this big article in my magazine at the time that still was in the film and kept the role through all the development stages was Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. That was the only character that in 1996 was predicted or signed on to play his character and actually was in the film. The rest of them, I'd have to get it out to list the actors, but it was complete change. And here's a really, really funny one for you. The rumour at the time, and if you think back, this was 96, so he was younger. I mean, I think he's passed away, this particular actor now, but he was younger and played a few serious roles. But you're going to laugh now, but Bob Hoskins was actually rumoured to be playing Wolverine. And I know you'll look at that and you will snigger. You'll laugh, oh my God. But if you think about it, he could be a serious actor if he wanted. For millions of pounds, I'm sure he'd have gone in shape. He was short. He was hairy, just like Wolverine was supposed to be. He was angry. They'd have put a wig on him, obviously. But I think Bob Hoskins, people initially, when I tell them that story, laugh, oh my God, Bob Hoskins as Wolverine. He played Mario, and, he was actually a very, very talented actor. He could have played it straight and serious if he'd have wanted. He'd have had to lose weight and get in shape. He was the right height. He was short. He was hairy. He was very good at being aggressive. If you look back at different scenes, one or two of his characters could get aggressive, and he would have had that, what they call berserker rage that Wolverine had. I'm not saying he's my pick. What I am saying is he was in my book and he was rumoured to play Wolverine, and he's a bizarre one. I was more comfortable when Bob Hoskins' name was attached to play Wolverine as I was when Hugh Jackman was attached to it. But the lanky, tall, skinny Australian made the role his own and even won me round, and I absolutely loved him from the first film. I didn't like it as a concept on paper, as an idea, but from the first film I was like, yep, that's Wolverine. That's the Wolverine that I grew up reading. I'll just, pretended he was 5'2" instead of 6'3". But other than that, I think he played it brilliant. To recast him now, in my opinion, is going to be one of the most difficult things in the world. It's tough because he's owned that role for so long. It's tough. Have they got to pick an A-lister? Have they got to pick an absolute celebrity A-lister so that he's not compared to Hugh Jackman because he's already got Oscars under his belt and he's already established? But the only problem you've got then is if anyone's established and they're as a household name as Hugh Jackman, so you're picking a household name to deflect from the point that people might complain that it's not Hugh Jackman, or that comparing, he's not as good as him, he's not as good as the original and all that kind of thing. You'll be looking at older actors, and one of the reasons that Hugh Jackman stepped down is because he's getting on and he doesn't like the training regime, and he doesn't like getting into shape to the extent that he has to. I mean, if you look at him in Days of Future Past, in the scene there, I mean, the shape of him was phenomenal. He was so big. I've got a side note to touch on that in a minute, but I'll get on that in a minute. But he was getting on. So any other A-list celebrity, surely you're going to talk about someone who's getting on as well. So that might not work. You might get 2 or 3 films out of him, and he's fed up of the working out. Then if you cast a completely unknown, in my opinion, he's just going to get cacked on by the fans. Oh, that's not Hugh Jackman. This is an unknown. This is this. This is that. In honesty, I don't know. I mean, I think, is it Carl Urban or Keith Urban, the guy who played Judge Dredd and played bloody Dr. McCoy in Star Trek. I always get confused because there's an Urban who's a second name Urban who's a country singer. It's Carl or Keith Urban anyway. The chap out The Boys, and he played Dredd, Judge Dredd, and he played Dr. McCoy in the Star Trek reboot. I think he'd be brilliant. Great actor, very good at being aggressive, very good at being angry. He's got that, that reactive face that you need of Wolverine when he's staring at Cyclops and wondering what the bloody hell he's saying, that bemusement. But is he getting on? Is he too old? Would he want to play the role? Would he want to get in shape? I don't know. No clue. I don't know. Darren, I think it's because it's such a role that I care about. I can't answer you. I would suggest that Urban chap, Judge Dredd. But again, I don't know. I'm just picking something off the top of my head there to try and pacify you. I'll play it if you want. I mean, I'll do it. Yeah. Nah, I don't know. It's just very important subject matter. Before I move on from the question, though, one thing that confused me is Hugh Jackman said that he was fed up of trying to get into shape to play Wolverine. Well, if you watch the very first X-Men film, there's a scene when he's lying on the medical bed in the X-Mansion where, I think he was in some scene with Rogue and he got knocked out by Sabretooth or something like that anyway. They bring him to the X-Mansion. Hugh Jackman's lying on the table and he ain't in shape. He's skinny. And then because the likes of Captain America got into shape and Thor gets in shape, now everybody seems to think that everybody that plays a superhero needs to look like the Incredible Hulk. Well, I've got a new flash for you. Hugh Jackman shouldn't feel that pressure just because Captain America's in shape. Captain America's supposed to be in shape because he's got super duper government steroids that make him into a superhero. The Hulk's in super shape because he's got that gamma radiation that makes him massive. The Ant-Man ain't in shape. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know why in the first film, X-Men 1, Hugh Jackman isn't massive. Look at the scene of him on that bed. He's just a normal chap lying down. Then by Days of Future Past, he's bigger than Lou Ferrigno. I don't know where that pressure come in and when, I'm playing a superhero, I've got to be steroided to the gills. Christopher Reeves as Superman was very believable, weren't he? He was my first Superman. He was just a man in a costume. Michael Keaton's my favourite Batman, man in a costume. There was no reason why Hugh Jackman couldn't just put that Wolverine costume on and carry on playing him. But that's my opinion, and I get why you would feel pressured because all the other guys seem to whack a load of human growth in the bottom and get massive just because they're playing a superhero. Some superheroes have got to be massive. The Hulk has got to be massive, of course he has. Thor's probably got to be big. He's a god, you know. But some heroes can just be normal sized, you know. That's my Superman was that I grew up with, and that's it really. I don't know, I've gone off on a side tangent there, but when he says, oh, I'm retiring because I'm fed up of getting in shape, and then I watched X-Men 1, I was like, well, you never used to get in shape, mate. What's the deal? But I think it's pressure from other actors and just peer pressure and just, you know, media. I don't know. I've gone off on a tangent now, Darren. I'm probably boring you to death. I'll answer your second question for you. You go to sleep. Okay, you've put on a serious topic. What are your thoughts on sports entertainment? Well, bit of news for you, Darren. I think your question on Wolverine was more serious, to be honest. This is your funny question. I'm joking. What are your thoughts on current sports entertainment? Now, you've worded that in a certain way, so I'm going to take that question in a certain way. And for the third time I'm trying, I'm actually going to finish your question without talking over myself. Is that possible? I don't know. I'll start again. What Darren writes in and says, oh, fuck I'm doing, I'm making it up as I go along. Darren says, what are your thoughts on current sports entertainment, and do you think going national/global did just as much damage to the wrestling business as losing or dropping kayfabe did or more? Okay, massive question there, Darren. Massive question. We'll have to answer that in two parts, really. The first one is, what are your thoughts on current sports entertainment? Do I have to, really, Darren? Do I have to? Okay, sounds like I'm being negative and I'm not. I'll prefix this. The current WWE roster is absolutely jam full of very, very talented wrestlers that I would be honoured to share a ring with. I'm not going to sit here and say they're all crap, because that's a lie. So please don't understand the next part of this podcast while I go on and on and on as me be bitter or bent out of shape. You know, oh, I don't like that wrestler because he's on the telly. It ain't that. The talent, by and large, of course, some of them are crap, because that's by the nature of it. I bet if you support a football team, you can name me two of the players that are in the squad that you think are crap, and they've still got a professional contract, haven't they? Of course, the chances in every industry, whether you're a footballer or you work in a factory or collect stamps, there's chances. But by and large, great roster, so I'm not knocking the roster. But as a product, I personally haven't been able to watch the WWE since the very end, start of, whatever you want to call it, the end of the Attitude Era, start of what they call ruthless aggression, which in my mind was just them taking John Cena and ramming him down your throat until you cheered him. A little bit like what they're doing with Roman Reigns now, from what I can tell, because everybody gives him a load of cack on my Facebook and knocks him. All they used to do when he was a babyface anyway, so you can show how much I don't pay attention. But as this ruthless aggression era come in, or whatever it was, PG era, I don't know, I just found it very, very, very bland, and I haven't been able to enjoy it. If you look back to the wrestling that I grew up on, whether it being the British wrestling, which was just free-flowing technical wrestling, which was amazing, and all of them did their talking in the ring, and let's face it, they were the best wrestlers in the world at that time. Nobody could touch them. That was a great product. Or if you talk about the American product that I watched back then, side caveat, the Japanese product I would put in the same bracket as the British wrestling. They did their talking in the ring, and it was top draw. Absolutely top draw. But the American wrestling, you had Roddy Piper, Jim Duggan, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, blah, 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 blah. You can go on and on. Amazing era. They could all look in the camera. They all knew their camera, frontwards, backwards, sideways, inside out, and then backwards again. They could look at the camera and cut a promo, you know, next time at the Houston Astrodome, blah, 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 because they knew what their character was. It was either them turned up to 10, you know, just them exaggerated, so you haven't got to think far. You've just got to think, well, what would I say to that? And then I'll shout it out loud. Or it was a character of their own invention, so they knew the characters inside and out. As soon as the WWF became overscripted, and you could tell they were reading lines, and some of the promos got a little like this because it was people that weren't comfortable reading a script. All of a sudden, I completely lost interest, and I just dropped off. That didn't mean I ever lost interest in wrestling. Didn't mean that I ever hated wrestling or didn't like it. I simply watched other stuff. First of all, I was busy wrestling myself. So I was travelling all over wrestling myself, so I enjoyed that. And the stuff I would get tapes from Japan. I would get old NWA tapes. I'd get old world class tapes. I'd get old British wrestling tapes, and I'd watch that and enjoy it. And then I'd put Raw on for 10 minutes, and then I'd turn it off because I just wasn't entertained by it. Fast forward, I don't know, when was Ruthless Aggression? 2003, 2004, something like that. Fast forward again to now, and I thought it was bad in 2004, 2005. To me, personally, if you watch it, that's your bag, nothing to do with me. But for me personally, it's unwatchable. It's scripted, it's plodding, it's the way that we'll stare this way so the camera can get me doing my entrance because this is what I do. React to the crowd, feed off the crowd. If the crowd are good, you're good. If you can cut a promo and not stutter and stammer, you're good. If you can sell tickets, you're good. And at somewhere along the line, everybody got road agents, everybody got told what to do. And basically, you could tell they were automatons instead of creative, natural, sparky human beings. And it just wasn't my bag. So that's what I think of current modern day wrestling, Darren. Now I'll try and answer the second part of your question because this is way more complicated because the first half was my personal opinion. It's easy to say my personal opinion. Oh, I don't like custard. You can't argue with that because I don't like custard, even if you do. But the next part, do you think going national global did as much damage to wrestling as losing kayfabe? Okay, I'm going to try and put a little bit of a spin on this, I suppose, just to try and answer the question properly. Obviously, you're on about Vince McMahon, WWE, Titan Sports, when they started buying all the territories up and went national, right? Did it do as much damage breaking kayfabe? Possibly it did. Possibly it did more. But the truth is, with how the internet is now, with how everything's on TV, or if it's not on TV, it's on Netflix or whatever, access on demand, the territories wouldn't have been sustainable now anyway, Darren, in my opinion, because you would have people be a top villain in Memphis, and they completely, do 6 months there and make loads of money, and then they go to, say, Mid-South and do the exact same gimmick, same run, same promos, and make just as much money on top there. Then they do 6 months in Florida, then they do this, then they do that, and they'd move around and make a ton load of money. Sometimes someone would be a babyface, a hero. I'll try and not use as many insider terms in case not all of you understand them, but somebody could have been a hero in Florida, had their run, finish their contract, 2 year, 6 months, whatever, verbal agreement, handshake, whatever it was, outstayed the welcome, and then 2 days later pop up in another territory and be the biggest villain, or, like I said, just recycle angles, which they did a lot more than you would think. None of that would be possible now. Because if Florida wrestling was competing with Texas wrestling, not in area, but in views on Netflix, it'd all be exposed. Ric Flair lost to Loser Leaves Town in Charlotte last month, but now he's in New York, but he's a babyface. It would have blown kayfabe open anyway. So the globalisation part, yeah, it did some damage. It did damage because the likes of Mick Foley and Triple H and those kind of people, they were the last wrestlers who had a little bit to do with the territories, which was the learning ground for American professional wrestlers. Much like the holiday camps were a learning ground for British professional wrestlers. That's how I learned, so I'm quite proud to say, to put myself in that bracket. Much like how the holiday camps, you would wrestle every day, twice a day, 3 times a day, and you get better and better and better. The territories, you could start in one territory and be absolutely awful, but then after 12 months of education, you'd leave because those fans know that you're awful and they won't have any faith in you. You've perhaps lost 30 matches and they don't see any importance in you. But then you can, once you've served your apprenticeship, lost all your matches, but got it all up here, you can hotshot it up to Calgary or jump down to Mexico or go to Florida, go to Puerto Rico, wherever you want to go. Ply the trade that you've just learned, but not be a loser, be the guy that wins and over the top. None of that would work now because of the internet, and because of how small the world's become because of communication. Way back in the early days when Arthur Oakley sailed to America to make his fortune wrestling in London, sailed to America, it took him 3 weeks to get there. He could have got to America and said all kinds of lies about himself. He could have said, I'm undefeated in England, I'm undefeated in Europe, I've never lost a match, straight at the top of the bill. None of that would happen now because instead of a 2-3 week voyage you're there in 12 hours and the internet just exposes everything. Are you saying to me that if World Class was doing all them good shows they used to do with Jim Duggan and all, whatever they were doing, or more so Mid-South, I was thinking actually, with Jim Duggan and Terry Taylor and Butch Reed and all of them, you saying that wouldn't be on some kind of internet all access package if Bill Watts was 35 promoting now? The tides would blow the territories open anyway, so I think it's a moot point. Dropping kayfabe didn't help. I think that wrestling dropped kayfabe in the wrong way. Everybody to a degree knew it was a work, but they didn't know the secrets. And then you've got secrets of wrestling on the television. That's bullshit. You know, I know that Paul Daniels didn't saw Debbie McGee off. I know that that's possible because if he chopped her in half, she'd die. But when he saws her in half on that box on the stage, or when he did, he's passed away now, ain't he, Paul Daniels? All my references are really old because I'm old in the head. But when Paul Daniels, magician for you young folks, when he used to saw his wife on stage and separate the boxes, I knew that weren't Debbie McGee's legs in the other box. I knew it was someone else's legs, but I was fascinated by the trick because I didn't know how it happened. Now, wrestling dropped kayfabe and then just blew the business open. That was hurtful, but that was collective. That weren't Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon helped it. This person, as wrestlers in general, they all dived in and just overexposed it. So that hurt wrestling, of course it did, but it was always going to happen eventually, you know. I think I've answered your question. You'll have to let me know. That's what I think anyway. So the next question. Oh, a different one then. Joanne Martin has asked, if you hadn't become a pro wrestler, if you hadn't become a professional wrestler, what path would you have taken? I don't know, alcoholic. No, I'm joking. Well, there was a few things I was wanting to do if I didn't get into wrestling and I didn't, kick on and start doing lots of shows. Initially, when I was 16, I'd already started wrestling at this point, but I was keeping my options open because I'd left sixth form like an idiot. That's another story for another day. It was wrestling related as well. But I'd left sixth form. The bookings had kind of dried up for a little bit, so I looked into courses. And I got accepted into a course at Sutton College, Sutton Coldfield College. It might be called something else now. They change the names every 2 minutes for funding now, don't they? But it was the college in Sutton. And I got accepted onto a crime scene investigation course, like a forensic science course, because that really interested me. It wasn't police workers per se, it was the actual crime scene investigation part of it, the forensics part of it that fascinated me. And I got accepted onto that course, and then my wrestling picked up. And because wrestling was my always first and foremost, because that wrestling picked back up and I kind of got back on path, I kind of left that behind. But it was interesting, like daft things like you would chop half a pig up, bury it for 8 months, and then it would be our job on that course to go and dig it up and work out the rate of the way it's decomposed and try and predict, because we wouldn't have buried it, the teacher was, try and predict whether it was in the ground for 2 years or 6 months, try and predict what the cause of death was, see how quickly it decayed, how quickly the teeth had started falling out, because obviously the physiology of a pig is not too dissimilar to the physiology of a human, skin type and the way they rot, the way they break down. That would have been fascinating. So I may well have gone into something like that because I was accepted on the course and I was very excited to do it. I also looked into becoming a teacher at one point. When I was at school, I did my work experience as a teacher. I went to a junior school and did some teaching. I didn't ever want to teach at a junior school, but obviously I couldn't take my work experience at another senior school because I was senior school age. But being a teacher fascinated me. I like the idea of teaching history because that's another passion of mine anyway, history. So perhaps I'd have gone into forensic science or crime scene investigation, Joanne, or perhaps teaching, really. Or just like, your local lunatic who just gets really drunk. I don't know. Might have been nice if it was something else. I don't know. But yeah, I'd have done something, Joanne. Always land on your feet, don't you? I don't know. Okay. Carl's Haffenden has asked me if you could have any wrestlers from any time period during the Catchment, who would it be? So I better do a bit of explaining on what the Catchment is really, and I can plug my new t-shirt. Like I said, I'll plug it later. So we've got a t-shirt out. It's got myself and Chris Royals and Leon Jackson on it, and more people would be added to the logo, but it'd be different merchandise. It'd be a hoodie or a pencil case or something like that. I won't keep bringing the same t-shirt on with new faces on, because that'd be a very a cynical cash grab, and I don't like things like that. I have to be pushed to even put merchandise out anyway. I don't necessarily like to. It can be a bit of hard work. But my new t-shirt's out anyway, and that's to do with the Catchment. It's got the Catchment written on it, and it's a parody or a tribute to the Watchmen front cover. So that's going to be pretty cool. And if you want that t-shirt, drop me a message on Facebook. Go on my Facebook and have a look at the t-shirt. It's lovely. Even if you don't want to buy one, come and have a look at it, because I'm quite proud of it, really. Shout out for Matt McGee to helping it put together. Between us, I think we make quite a good team on the design point, you know, from the design point of view. But yeah, we've got a t-shirt out, and I suppose I should tell you what the Catchment is, really. It's in the press release on the Facebook, so I won't bore you quickly. But all it is, rhymes with Watchmen, so it makes us laugh. But really, it's an old style of wrestling, and in Europe, wrestling's called catch. And a group of us, get together on every couple of weeks, and we study old-fashioned technical wrestling and old-fashioned shoot wrestling, catch wrestling, sambo wrestling, all sorts. So affectionately, we just started calling ourselves the Catchman, and it's caught on, and it makes us giggle, really. But the t-shirt's nice to buy it. But what the group's about, as Carl will know because he's asked the question, and I think he's very good mates with Chris, so he'll already understand what we're all about, is it's all about technical wrestling and traditional wrestling and very old style wrestling, reversals, holds, this, that and the other. So you've said from Emmy Time era, which I think is pretty cool, it would be wrestlers from back then, because we're trying to recreate their style. We're trying to not let their style die out with the Catchment group that we've created. So it's wrestlers from, bygone eras that I'd want to have a roll about with and train with and learn from. Need another drink. I need to get a guest on so I can ask them a question, they can answer it, and I can have a drink. It's a bit hard when, I'm drinking and you're just getting silence. I could play a bit of music. No, I'm joking. So I could down a pint. Yeah, off the top of my head, Billy Robinson will be number one. He's a big, hard man, and he'd probably damage us and bend us and put our heads where the sun don't shine. But he's probably the premier British catch wrestler of all time, or at least of my knowledge. There's probably people before him that could have wiped the floor with him. That's how it kind of goes, isn't it? There's always someone bigger and badder around the corner. But he's one of my heroes, Billy Robinson. So Billy Robinson, did I say that wrong, Josh? Anyway, Billy Robinson, amazing wrestler from England, knows the catch style, knows the old British style of technical wrestling. He'd be number one on my list all day long, but like a younger Billy Robinson, obviously he's passed away now, but a younger Billy Robinson who, could show us a few things. Luthez, without a shadow of a doubt, Luthez, one of my favourite wrestlers. He was part of the American wrestling scene when American wrestling was still very technical, and it wasn't all just punch kick, there was some real skill to it. Similar era to that, similar kind of wrestler, it would be Vern Gagne, one of my all-time favourite wrestlers. People tend to look at the end of his career when he was balding and he did some very bizarre style dropkick. If you watch him earlier on, when he was in his prime and his pomp and his circumstance, one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen technically. And there is a particular match on YouTube, and if you drop me a message, any of you out there, and ask me for it, I'll send you the exact match I'm talking about. But it's Luthez versus Vern Gagne for the world title. Like, it's way back. It's in black and white. It's that old, but it's one of the best matches I've ever seen. And to round that off, I'm going to go with four, like the Four Horsemen, Carl, to answer your question. We've got Billy Robinson, Luthez, Vern Gagne, and my next one will be Carl Gotch. An amazing technical wrestler, the inventor of the German suplex, very good European wrestler. I believe he's from Belgium, so why it's called the German suplex, I'm not sure, but I believe he's Belgian. I might be talking out me out there, though, so you'll have to check. But he's European for sure, but he's known as being the grandfather or the father of Japanese wrestling. He went out there, I believe, late 60s, early 70s, and started training all the wrestlers in the style that you see today. Without Carl Gotch, I don't think you would have the technical wrestling that you get in Japan. You might not even have strong style because things kind of spawn off from other things. So you might not know as much about Carl Gotch, but get on YouTube and look him up. Inventor of the German suplex, amongst other things. And there's my four. I'll just list them again because I know I'm babbling. Luthez, Vern Gagne, Billy Robinson and Carl Gotch. They would be my four that I would want to, train with. And that's essentially what the Catchment is. It's a training group that we've all got to know each other very, very well. And that's it, really. There's me four. Hopefully that's all right, Carl. That's what you meant. Okay, I can answer this question short or long, really, but I'll try and do it short so it don't sound like I'm being bitchy in my answer. O'Shea's asked me, what are your thoughts on the whole wrestling world talking about CM Punk possibly joining AEW. I could sum it up just without talking. Look, I'll read the question as if it's not me. Look, Matt, what do you think about the whole world talking about CM Punk possibly joining AEW? Here's my response. That sounds horrible. It sounds like I'm being bitchy, but no, I'm not bothered. I know that sounds really bad, like I'm being horrible for horrible sake. It don't bother me. I don't watch AEW. I watch bits. I watched Christian's match against Twinkle Toes McFinger Bang, and I thought that was decent. There was some Twinkle Toes elements of the match that I didn't like, but Christian's parts were amazing. It was nice to see. It was nice to see an old school wrestler being able to do an old school job and still proving he was top draw, really, because he always has been. But other than that, the only ever AEW or AWE, I forget, All Elite Wrestling, the only other match I've seen from that promotion was the 6-man tag where Tully Blanchard wrestled, because I love Tully Blanchard. So that's only 2 matches I've seen. So it doesn't bother me, really. Going by those 2 matches, I am willing to watch more of that promotion because it looked good. My big thing is a lot of wrestling fans, a lot of wrestlers in particular, will say, "Oh, I hate Raw, I hate watching Raw. Oh, did you watch Raw? It was boring." Well, my thing is, I thought Raw was boring 18 years ago, so I turned it off. And every now and again, I'll put 5 minutes on it, and I'm like, still boring, and I turn it off. My life's too precious to watch 2-3 hours of something that I don't like. I don't understand why wrestling fans, if you go on Twitter after Raw finishes, they'll watch 3 hours of Raw and then complain about it for 2 hours. Don't understand it. That's a side torrent. But if I don't like a song, I'll skip it. If I don't like a movie, I don't watch it again. Or even I'll turn a movie off halfway through. Boom, not for me. If I don't like a wrestling product, I won't watch it. So I don't watch Raw, Modern Wrestling. But AEW, I haven't got around to watching it yet. I've only saw those 2 matches and I liked them. So I might watch more. But I probably won't because I'm busy. Like, I'll probably watch, the pay-per-view that's just happened. I'll probably watch that in 18 months and I'll go, oh, that was good. I wish I'd have watched it. I'm too busy to watch it. So whether they sign CM Punk or whether they sign Barack Obama, it won't affect me because I don't watch it. Another thing, really, is that I've never been a fan of CM Punk. I've watched some of his matches in the WWE because, again, like I say, I wouldn't watch Raw, but we used to do shows at Riley's in Wolverhampton. Not only was it our venue, they were our sponsor. So we were, to a degree, me and Selfie and a few of the other high-profile PWL wrestlers, we'd do the show, and we were kind of contractually obligated to stick around. I didn't stick around for everyone because some of the pay-per-views were unbearable, but I would stay because my friends were there, fans there that I knew, and there was a lot of beer there, so I would stay and just talk to my friends. But obviously, the wrestling on a big screen there, I want to take some of it in. And for the 10 or so CM Punk matches I've ever seen, I've never been completely in awe of him. That's not me knocking him. He's obviously a great professional because the man's a millionaire from what he's done as a job. He's obviously brilliant, but I've never watched one of his matches and been on the end of my seat. I've never been bothered. He's a good professional wrestler, but he's not my cup of tea, and I ain't a fan. And I don't really watch modern day wrestling. So without trying to sound like Catherine Tate's school character, I'm not bothered though. I'm not bothered. It don't affect me. I'll say so. I'm not the best person to ask those kind of questions to, unless you giggle at the fact that I don't care, really, which I know my fellow wrestlers do giggle at it. Yeah, good luck to him. I hope he makes a pack more money because he's obviously good at making money. But it don't affect me either way. Unless he wants to give me some of his money, then I'll watch him and I'll clap. I don't know. Next question. Okay, here's an interesting one. Completely different subjects. We said we wouldn't just talk about wrestling, didn't we? Simon Rock has asked me, what are your thoughts on the Natty Colony on the Dark Side of the Moon conspiracy? So we'll get into that. And the Black Knight satellite, is it alien or not? So you talking about some conspiracy theories there. That's cool. I like me conspiracy theories. Like I said in the last episode, the teaser episode or whatnot, doesn't mean I believe them all. It just means that I enjoy reading them because they're fascinating. In regards to the Dark Side of the Moon, Natty Colony, don't believe it in the slightest, Simon. I think it's fan fiction. It's you get some conspiracy theories that have got that much truth in them, or a whole lot of truth, but they're slightly more believable. And then you get chancers who just jump on the top of them and make things up, really. There are people in the conspiracy world that are rich, and when I say rich, I mean millionaires rich, David Icke, who are millionaires off what they sell as their product. And if they can come up with a more interesting story, a more compelling abduction story about aliens, or more compelling story that the Queen's a lizard or something like that, they'll make more money. So what is a pure conspiracy theory is on top of, on top of, on top of, and layered on top. If there's money to be made in any medium, there's corruption to be made. There's no way in my mind that the Nazis are on the moon. Even to get to the moon, when we did get there, well, when the Americans got there in the 60s or whatnot, even then it was complete luck. We got up there with a computer processor with no more power than a modern day calculator. We got up there not really understanding what the Van Allen belt is, which is intense radiation that's around the globe. Now, let me just tell you this, Simon. The Russians abandoned going to the moon because they didn't know how to shield their astronauts from the Van Allen belt, and they were convinced that if they sent their aliens, their astronauts, or cosmonauts, I suppose, because they're Russian, remember the difference, cosmonauts Russian, astronauts American, they didn't know how to protect their cosmonauts from the radiation from the Van Allen belt, and they were under the impression they'd come back and be riddled with cancer. Nobody knows how NASA protected their astronauts from the Van Allen belt. Nobody knows. There's no real conclusion, which is why some people don't even believe we've been to the moon because of the Van Allen belt. And they say even in 2021, we haven't got the technology to protect ourselves from solar radiation and the radiation that's to do with the Van Allen's belt. So how on earth did the Nazis escape Europe from persecution and go and hide on the backside of the moon? That'd be brown bread, mate. We just didn't have the technology for it to happen. Same with Antarctica. It'd be hard now for us to go and hide in Antarctica with all modernity's money and wealth and technology and ideas. We'd freeze to death by and large without government help. So I don't even believe the theory that they went to Antarctica and had a base in Antarctica. I am fascinated with the Nazi regime, but I like to be more real with it. I like learning about the rat race, the rat run, how they escaped. I mean, it's disgusting, really, how the Catholic Church helped them escape and get to South America. The real conspiracy about the Nazis escaping Germany, it's nothing to do with the moon. That's somebody getting rich off selling books about that. It's nothing to do with Antarctica. Someone's getting rich off doing podcasts off that. It's to do with the rat race. It's to do with the Catholic Church and how they helped them get out of Europe, escape, not persecution, prosecution rather, that's a better word, because they broke the law, international human rights and all of this kind of stuff, and they escaped to Southern America, to countries like Argentina, to countries like Brazil and all those kind of countries. That's the real conspiracy, because it's disgusting if you look into it, the high level Nazis that escaped. I'd be more inclined to believe that Hitler didn't die in that bunker. I'd be more inclined to believe that Hitler faked his death in that bunker and escaped to Argentina and lived his life like a dirty rat, and got away with it because of help from this, that and the other, rather than there's a base on the moon or there's a base in Antarctica. To answer it short and blunt, I think it's fan fiction. And it's just, if there's one conspiracy, two conspiracy, three conspiracy, and they've all kind of got something to them, well, I can make a fourth up and make a load of money, so I don't trust it. There's no way they had the technology in the 40s to get to the moon. And some people even will tell you they didn't have the technology to get to the moon in the 60s when Neil Armstrong was hitting a golf ball off it. That's up to you. You can believe that or not. I'm not 100% I'm not 100% formed on what I think about the moon, but I definitely don't think there's a secret Nazi base on the backside of the moon. I just think it's really cool fan fiction. Some charlatans can make some money about it, and there's probably a few good films and a few good books about it. Other than that, I think there's nothing to confound it. What did you ask about other than that? The Black Knight or the Dark Knight? Dark Knight or Black Knight satellite, isn't it, they call it? Again, I think it's fan fiction. I think people like Elon Musk have now got the technology to go up there and take a picture of this supposed satellite that's been monitoring us for thousands of years, that's either from a civilization far extinct on the Earth or from another planet or whatever. No, I think it's fan fiction, because people like Elon Musk and Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos, they might be good for nothing money hoarders just sitting on billions of pounds while there's people starving in Africa or people homeless in Birmingham, but they have got the money to go to the moon, they have got the money to get to space, they have got the money to go to Mars. And people like Elon Musk would ignore the government and just go and take a picture of it if it was up there. I think we'd have found out now yeah, we'd have found out, because there's probably technology, if you've got enough money, if you've got a couple of grand, that you can take a picture of all the satellites in the sky. There's no way there's one evading us up there. Now, is there one that we don't know about with cloaking technology? Is the moon? Is the moon man-made? Is the moon alien-made? Is the moon the satellite that we're really talking about? We don't know. It probably apparently rings hollow and it's like a bell and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to those two particular theories, Simon, I think they're really interesting. I'll sit and watch documentaries on them on YouTube for an hour, but I don't quite believe them. I just think somebody very inventive has put them together. I do believe that there's aliens. I do believe that there are some conspiracies. When I say there's aliens, that's not me saying, oh, there's a green man and he's abducted me or anything like that. I'm not being fanciful. What I'm saying is, our sun is a star, and round our star is how many planets, and on how many planets, one of them supports life. Now, the stars in the sky that we can see with our naked eye, we can't count them all. Like, can you imagine spending all night trying to count them? You wouldn't have a proper tally in a book. It's almost infinite, the amount of stars in the sky. Are you telling me around one of those stars there's not a planet with life on it like ours? It's arrogant to presume there's not aliens. That's where I come from when it comes to aliens. There is aliens, because there's no way there can't be. You know, if every star has just one planet circling it, which is not true. We've got how many planets? There's stars out there with more planets than us, less planets than us. So if every star, and we can't count every star, has two planets going round it, which we can't count because we can't count every star, are you saying life hasn't evolved on 1, 2, 10 or a million of those planets? Of course it has. The universe should be riddled with life, just with common sense, just out of common sense. People, oh no, there's only us, that's just blind arrogance. There's no way it could just be us in this great nothingness that we call space. There must be life. But I just don't happen to think that Nazis live on the moon. I think that, am I coming off as a middle of the ground conspiracy theorist there? I don't know, but that is my actual thought on it, Simon. So that's what I think. I've kind of just answered Rob Ashford's question as well. He said, do you believe in aliens? Well, yeah, and I've just backed up why I believe in them. So that is the answer to that. And what do you think is in Area 51? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's no alien spacecraft in Area 51 because it's in the media that there might be alien spacecraft in Area 51. Do we have alien technology? I don't know. Is it possible? Yes. If we had it, would it be in Area 51? No. No chance. If the public thinks something's the case, they'll change it anyway. Even if they did have something there in Roswell in there in the 60s, you have lunatics camp outside it now, joking about storming it or holding posters up about aliens. They would have been moved out of there before the 70s had even finished, when all the first wave of hippies and the first wave of beatniks and the first wave of like new age people used to go out there to kind of wave at the UFOs and all that kind of stuff. They'd have moved it all then. So no, I don't think there's anything in Area 51, Rob. But have we got alien technology? I'm not so sure, but let me tell you this. We went from like, you know, if you go back like 100 years ago, in 100 years, let's say 150, let's say 200, we still had houses, we still had clothes, we still even had spectacles to a degree. But in the last sort of, I don't know, 70 years, we've gone to phones, TV, radio, mobile telephones. Even in my lifetime, you used to have to carry a calculator, a camera, a phone with a battery bigger than your head, and all this stuff. It's all in one tiny little box now. That's my phone. How did we do all that in 70 years? Why didn't we do that? You know, like when the Victorian Revolution was going on in the 1800s, why didn't we invent stuff then that just kicked on? I think we've advanced more in the last 70 years than we have in 2,000 years. And that's odd to me. What all of the smart people weren't all of a sudden born 70 years ago just to jump us on. For as smart as Steve Jobs is with his little inventions and his little innovations, all the people that he employs to pretend that he's invented them, a little bit like Edison. All of those, there was people smarter than Steve Jobs in the 1700s if you were to just do an IQ test. So why all of a sudden in the last 70 years have we developed this technology, that technology? Why can we now fly all the way around the globe, but 200 years ago flight was laughed at? Why? How quick we've come on. Is alien technology on this planet? I don't know. But it's a good conversation to have. I could probably do an hour on just that, but I won't, because some of you probably think I'm a lunatic now. So we'll move on. Okay. Next question. Paul Cooper, you cheeky get. He's put, was that Ric Flair on that train or not? No, you cheeky bleeder. You can tell it's not his hair. It's a funny internet meme, but Ric Flair was not having sex on a train in England a couple of days ago. No. Vaughan Murphy, is Will Ospreay the best UK export in wrestling? No, not even close. Is Will Ospreay amazing? Yeah. Is he a top draw professional wrestler? Yeah. He's not our best export. No chance. William Regal, Davey Boy Smith, Dynamite Kid. Yeah, it's Dynamite Kid, isn't it? Let's just be honest, it's Dynamite Kid. You've got Adrian Street. You've got amazing wrestlers that came from this globe that I would put above him. But please don't mean that that's not I'm saying he's bad. He's fucking brilliant. He's a great wrestler. Dynamite Kid just happened to invent the medium that he now occupies. There's no way you can put him ahead of Dynamite. No. Short answer, no. Long answer, nah. Okay, what's next? Have I got any more questions? I think I've rattled through these. I have got a few questions, actually. Carl's asked me, I'll do one more and then I'll have a little chat to you and we'll get off. But Carl's asked me a question. He's put, you're not just a wrestler, you're a coach. I'm not just a wrestler and a coach either. I do a lot of stuff. But yeah, I'll get you. I'm being pedantic now because I've done 50 minutes and I'm getting cranky. You know what? I need another drink. That's not a lot, is it really? And then I've interrupted myself again. I've read half the question. I didn't know you could rudely interrupt yourself, but I've done it twice in this podcast now. That's better. Sorry that was long, folks, but I wanted that out of the way. It was starting to get a bit warm. Damn. Still cold. Right, let's get to Cal's question then before I start boring you all to death down in my drinks. Cal, you're not just a wrestler, you're a coach as well. Well, yes, I am. Thank you very much. And as in you, as you know, I'm reading it as you are now. And as I know, as Cal knows, that's better. Pardon me. And as Cal knows, I've got to word it all different if I keep doing it like that. I'm going to read it as Cal. Matt, yes, Cal, right. You're not just a wrestler, you're a coach as well. And as I know, brackets Cal, you've taught, brackets me. Just doing this crap because I'm down the drink. I'm going to read the question as Cal, then I'm going to answer it as me. This is so difficult. I need a secretary. Cal says, you're not just a wrestler, you're a coach as well. And as I know, you've taught many people, but class very few as your trainees in brackets. What is it that you look for from someone that differentiates them from the other people that you teach and makes them your trainee? Okay, I understand what you're saying. You've heard me say this in the pub, and I'll sum it up quicker because I've probably butchered your question. It's nothing to do with your question. It's me. I couldn't spit it out my mouth. So you've heard me say this in the pub, Cal. I've had a school for 10, 11 years. And I taught classes before that. Different promotions used to, will you come in and take a session for me? Or will you come in and teach or do a seminar? I've travelled down and taught for Pro EV Wrestling in Gloucester or that way. I used to teach in Birmingham for AWW Wrestling. As a guest teacher, I used to teach at K-Star. I've taught in Portugal. I've taught in Japan, which was the biggest honour ever. They came to me and asked me if I'd teach a class after they saw me doing some technical wrestling on a show. One of the biggest compliments I ever could have got. So, yeah, I've taught a lot of people. And I've tried to differentiate it because there are some people that have trained under me and then left to go on to do bigger and better things, or a sideways step, or even a downward step. It depends who they are and what they're doing. It's not my place to judge. But they've left, and then they've been in an interview on the internet or written or radio or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, who's taught you? Who taught you to be a professional wrestler? And invariably, a lot of them say, Mad Dog Maxx taught me how to wrestle. And I'm just sitting there thinking, well, no, I didn't. Teaching somebody for 6 months isn't teaching them. Don't get me wrong. I've had people train under me for 5 years and I still wouldn't say I taught her, because here's how it is. Wrestling's a commercial enterprise. I can have someone pay me £10 every week and I'll teach them a little bit of wrestling. But at the same stage, if they're not listening, if they're not taking it in, I'm not teaching them. I've had people, I've given them my version of what I think pro wrestling is, and they'll cherry pick what they think it is, even though they're not qualified to do so. some would argue I'm not neither, but I've produced some decent trainees over the years, so I've done all right. But if they're going to cherry pick and not bother and not work hard, and then, that's not my style of wrestling, so I don't want my name attached to them. If they're going to train with me sporadically every other week or every few weeks because they can't be bothered to get to the gym, and then leave 12 months down the road to wrestle for someone else because it's easier, don't say I taught you, because I didn't. You were in my gym. I didn't teach you. Professional wrestling is high-end dedication. And again, I'll backtrack now. Some people can do it as a hobby and do it to a good standard. Some people can have a wife or a husband and children and a job and learn how to wrestle on the side and apply themselves once a month to wrestle really to a high standard. There's nothing wrong with those people. The world's full of them. It has been full of them, even in the world of sport days. If you look at someone, the difference between, say, a Bob Barrett and a Keith Myatt. Bob Barrett wrestled full-time. Keith worked at the Potteries, being from Stoke, but would still wrestle on TV and still wrestle all over the country. Nothing wrong with that, and he was very, very good at what he did in that. So I'm not knocking that, but you get people who come into the gym and say, oh, I want this. But then after 6 months, they'll leave, go and wrestle somewhere else and say, oh, Mad Dog taught him. And I think I didn't even start to teach you yet. I didn't even scratch the surface yet. So that's not me being horrible. It's just shocking, really. It's commercial enterprise wrestling. You can pay a tenner, come into my gym and I can teach you. But unless you listen, I ain't teaching you. Unless you take it on board and throw yourself at it, I ain't teaching you. It's the people that stick it out long enough for me to actually impart some knowledge onto them, They're the people I class as my trainees. But what I look for, Cal, to answer your question, is dedication, week in, week out, consistency, effort, week in, week out, not coming and saying, oh, I've had a bad week, so I won't train. My best sessions are always when I've had a bad week because I can throw myself at it. It's those people who are focused and who are driven, the people that ask the questions. It's not just, oh, tell me what to do so I can call myself a professional wrestler to my mates. It's how do I become the best professional wrestler? How can I be a better professional wrestler? It's just seeking brilliance, Cal. And when you get somebody that seeks brilliance, it's so easy to impart knowledge onto him. And I won't just do it myself. I'll say, go and wrestle him because you'll learn from him. Then go and do this seminar with this guy, and you start getting people around and cramming knowledge into their head. I suppose the point I'm trying to make, Cal, and I'm talking a million miles an hour because it's something that I'm passionate about. Anybody can pay 10, 5, 20 pounds and stand in a wrestling gym and be a part of the process and look like they're taking it in or just get it done. But then every now and again, and it is rare, you get that person who lives, breathes, sleeps and eats it, and it's the most important thing in their life, and you can see it, and it's easy to teach them. And that's the difference. It's not be mean or be nasty. If I've only taught you for 6 months and you've naffed off, I haven't taught you. I haven't even had the chance to. If you train with me for 5 years, but you haven't bothered actually practicing what I've preached, I haven't taught you. You've just done what you've wanted. So I can't call myself your coach because you haven't allowed me to be your coach. But if you throw yourself at wrestling, full forced, wholeheartedly, like Leon Jackson has, like Nick Powers has before he had to take his sabbatical. He's just come back, by the way, so watch out, because one of the best professional wrestlers I've ever had the privilege of teaching is back on the scene again. If people like Chris Royals, who will ask questions to me at 3 a.m, will still be up talking about wrestling and debating it and trying to work out the finer sides of it. People that just throw themselves at it wholeheartedly. It's okay if it's your second and third priority. That's fine, and I have nothing against that. But if you tell me it's your first priority, let me see it and let's, and show it. And that's the difference, really. There's a difference between, I don't know, someone who wants it and someone who needs it. I suppose that's the difference, Carl. But please don't understand that's me not knocking the other set of people. I'm just saying there is a big disconnect. There is a big difference, really. There's people who think they like wrestling and there's people who like it. There's people who want wrestling and there's people who need wrestling. But the same could be said about playing chess. I could play you at chess, Cal, and you beat me every week and I wouldn't learn anything if I weren't taking it in. I just might like sitting there talking to you. You get a lot of time wasters and stuff like that, and it's not their fault, it's just society. But every now and again you get a gold nugget, like a Leon Jackson, like a Danny Gold, like a Nick Powers. And I'm saying them because they're, especially Nick and Leon, in that they're more technical. So obviously I can teach them more because that's my passion. It's just like a lump of gold that you can just gleam out of the ground, and it just gets you excited, really. It's nothing nasty towards anyone else, because you get people who don't want to learn technical wrestling, just want to be a brawler or be a comedy wrestler. I will look after them and give them every ounce of my effort and still be there for them. But, you know, there's certain people I go, that's my trainee, and I'm proud I taught them, because they're stuck around for the long haul. You know, it's not all good. It's not all cutting promos and doing dives and being proud of yourself. Some of it is being told off. Some of it is taking bumps and it hurts. Some of it is doing things that you're scared of or worried about. Wrestling's a big, bad, scary thing. And that's it, really. I hope I've answered your question, but I've kind of gone off on all of the tangents at the same time. It's hard to tie me down to one subject. I'd prefer you here to say, Matt, you're getting off track. But I think I've answered your question. Again, I don't know. I think I've answered all of them. I don't know. Sometimes I think, I hope that's what they wanted me to say. No, that's wrong. It's not what I wanted to say. I hope I'm answering the question in the way that they wanted it answering, because sometimes just reading text, you can get it wrong, you know. Like, you could be asking me about, you know, so-and-so, and I could think a different subject and go off on one, because it can be a bit difficult at times. But I hope I've answered all your questions there, really. And I'm exhausted now, so I'm going to go to the pub and see my mate. We've got a little meeting, so I'm going to get off and do that. I've got to put all my fake tan on tomorrow and my beard dye. And then Saturday I've got the prize show, so I'm really pleased. What I am going to do, for those of you that have, subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'm going to film some of the day on Saturday, so you guys can see. It'll be like a mini supplement podcast, not a proper podcast. I'm just going to do a load of filming throughout the day and put it up, not as one of the episodes, but as something for you guys to watch. You'll see me, how I pack my bag, what the kind of daft shit we talk about when we're in the car, a little bit backstage. Hopefully, if Chris gives me permission, I'll get the match filmed. Then you get a bit of footage of us backstage after the match. You can see how exhausted I am and how I fall afterwards. But yeah, I'm going to do a bit of a special show Saturday. I'm going to record the day in the life of a wrestler on the road. So you'll see me getting ready. It's only bits. I'll just put the camera on and go, hello, I'm packing my bag, here's my bag, blah, blah, blah. Then the next thing you'll see, it won't be edited together properly. I'll just like butt it together. So excuse that it's amateurish, but I just want to give you guys an insight into what my Saturday is or my Friday when I'm wrestling, you know, and I think you might find that interesting. Let me know. You might say, Matt, that's awful, don't do it. But my idea is to film a little bit in my man cave while I'm packing my bag, film a little bit in the car with all the lads and lassies that we're travelling with, film a little bit backstage, film some of the match, or if Chris Royal's given me permission, the whole match, we'll get the match on film, and then film some of the backstage antics and the backstage signings, and just having a pop after. Pop. It'll be this. Won't be Coca-Cola and lemonade. But yeah, that's my idea. Let me know what you think of that. I only thought of it in the van today, driving about this morning. But I think it's a pretty cool idea. I'm going to do a day in the life of Mad Dog Maxx on the road Saturday. What do you think? Let me know, folks. This has been episode 1 of Reversing the Hold with Matt Powell and Mad Dog Maxx. Obviously, on both of them. And yeah, I've had some fun rambling on to you. I had some fun down in that point and all. I'm going to down this one in a sec. This has been episode 1. I hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to do Day in the Life of on Saturday, and this time next week I'll put episode 2 up. So get your questions in. Let me know what you think. Talk to me. You talk to me. I'll talk to you. But I need you up from your end as well. Thank you very much, folks. I've rambled on long enough. Have a good weekend. Mwah. Take it easy, folks. Don't forget, Prize Wrestling this Saturday, PWL, next Saturday in Warsaw. Go on social media to buy tickets. There you go. Bye.